In the third trimester, my husband suddenly suggested adopting a child to have twins and register them together. I was worried that this was illegal, but my husband said that adopting an orphan was a good deed and would bring us good karma. In a previous life, I believed his lies, let him trick me into quitting my job, and endured hardships to raise a pair of twins for 3 years. But he brought his childhood friend into our home. Claire, thank you for taking care of my twins and sending them to kindergarten. Qingmei held her husband's hand, and as for your daughter, she accidentally died while I was taking care of her. I was utterly shocked. Not only was my son my husband's illegitimate child, but my daughter wasn't even my biological daughter. In this new life, my husband was using the same tricks again. Looking at his loving expression, I smiled faintly. Sure, honey, you're so kind. This time, it was my turn to act. Honey, let's adopt a child? Jason held my hand, his eyes brimming with tenderness. Anyway, you're going to have a baby, so let's have twins and register them together. We don't need a second child. I can't bear to see you suffer. Looking into his deep eyes, I almost fell for him again. In my previous life, it was those eyes that made me believe him. I thought he truly loved the children, was truly kind, and truly cared about me. Until Luna walked into the house holding his hand, I realized it was all a lie. My biological daughter was killed by them. And the twins Luna had through IVF were now my twins. They squatted in my home, living in the house my mother left me, living happily together. And I was left with nothing, eventually committing suicide in despair. A sharp pain pierced my heart, but I forced myself to suppress my hatred and smile gently. All right, husband, I'll snuggle into your arms. You're so kind. He stiffened, probably not expecting me to agree so easily. You know, I really love children. 1 is fine, 2 is even better. If we could have triplets, I'd be even happier. I spoke innocently. Jason paused for a moment, then hugged me tightly. Claire, you're so kind. Kind? Of course I am. If I don't agree now, how will I get to see your performance with Luna later? How will I get back everything you owe me, with interest? Will the adoption process be complicated? Where will the children come from? I asked, feigning concern. Don't worry, I've already taken care of everything. Jason patted my back. A distant relative of mine is about to have a baby and can't afford to raise it. We're helping her, and it's also a good deed to accumulate merit. The same old line. He said the same thing in our past life. The so-called distant relative was actually his childhood sweetheart, Luna. And the child wasn't adopted at all, it was a premeditated swap. Husband, you're so good to me. I looked up, my eyes welling up with tears. For our family, you've gone to so much trouble. Jason was moved by my affection and kissed my forehead. Silly, we're husband and wife. It's only natural. Watching his hypocritical act, my stomach churned. In the days that followed, Jason became even more attentive. He took care of all the household chores, cooked various tonics for me every day, and even massaged my swollen legs at night. Martha also changed her attitude, no longer speaking coldly to me, and even bought me many baby items on her own. The more they acted, the colder my heart grew. The better they treated me now, the crueler they would be when Luna came over with the children. Claire, Nan told me you're planning to adopt another one to make a pair of twins. Martha knelt on the ground, picking vegetables while saying, that's good. More children bring more blessings. Mom, it's mainly because Jason is kind. I stroked my belly and smiled gently. Yes, our Nan has always been kind-hearted. Martha's face lit up with pride, but she quickly changed the subject. But Claire, 2 children are a heavy burden. What about your job? Here it comes. In my previous life, it was Martha's words, combined with Jason's persistent persuasion, that made me quit my job. I used to be a project manager at a foreign company, with a decent income. After quitting, I became a full-time housewife, losing both my income and my social status. In the end, they easily kicked me out. Mom, I know what you mean. I interrupted her. We have to keep working. How else can we afford to raise 2 children? We can't rely on Jason alone. He works hard enough as it is. I paused for a moment before continuing. I've already decided. I'll go back to work after my maternity leave. As for the children, we can hire a good nanny. Martha's expression changed slightly, apparently not expecting me to refuse. Jason gave me a look from the side, signaling me not to defy Martha. I pretended not to notice. Hire a nanny? How can you trust a stranger to take care of your own child? Martha frowned. Besides, hiring a nanny is so expensive. It's better if you... Mom, I interrupted her again, my tone firm. Money isn't an issue. Jason and I earn enough. I'll take care of the child's education and companionship myself, but I can't give up my career. I've always admired you for working at the supermarket until retirement and even returning for 2 more years. You must understand that I want to have my own career, right? I cut her off and gave her a compliment. Martha opened her mouth but eventually said nothing more. Jason glanced at me and sighed. As the due date approached, Jason came home less and less. He was a surgeon and always said the hospital was busy with surgeries. I knew he was going to be with Luna. Calculating the time, Luna was also about to give birth. In my previous life, we gave birth to our children at my husband's hospital. I had a daughter, and she had twins. Jason used his position to not only get me a son but also, at Luna's pleading, swap our daughters. Then he announced to the world that I had given birth to twins. And my poor daughter disappeared without a trace. Thinking of this, my heart ached as if it were being carved out with a knife. In this life, I would never let the tragedy repeat itself. Honey, you've been so busy lately. Is the hospital short-staffed? I asked casually. Yes, there have been a lot of patients recently, Jason replied distractedly while changing his shoes. By the way, your distant relative is about to give birth, right? Do you know if it's a boy or a girl? I continued to probe. Jason paused, his eyes darting around. Soon. They said it might be a boy. A boy is great. You like sons too, don't you? I said with a smile. We'll go pick him up together when he's born. Jason mumbled a response, avoiding my eyes. I sneered inwardly. Jason, do you really think I'm still the naive fool from my past life? That day, I was taking a nap when I was awakened by an urgent ringing at the door. Opening the door, I saw a woman dressed provocatively standing outside. It was Luna. She was holding her huge belly, as if she were about to give birth at any moment. Claire, she smiled innocently, saying that Nango had to work overtime tonight and wouldn't be able to come back, so she came to check on me. After all, you're about to give birth, and he's worried about you being alone at home. She tried to step inside. I blocked the door and didn't let her in. No need to trouble yourself. I'm fine. I spoke coldly. Your belly is so big. I'm afraid you'll give birth here. Luna's smile froze for a moment before returning to normal. Claire, I'm only 8 months along. You're almost full term, aren't you? Besides, Nan and I grew up together. We're like siblings. Don't be so formal. Siblings? In my previous life, I thought so too. Until they kicked me out of the house, I never knew that these so-called siblings had already been sleeping together. Is that so? I raised an eyebrow. If you're siblings, why have you never called me sister-in-law? Claire, do you have some misunderstanding about me? Luna quickly composed herself and giggled. Nangu is the same, he never explained it to me either. Sister-in-law, don't be angry. As she spoke, she reached out to take my hand. I recoiled in disgust. If you have something to say, say it. If not, leave. I gave her the boot. Luna hit a brick wall and felt humiliated. She bit her lip, her eyes reddening. Sister-in-law, I know you don't like me. But I really don't have anything with Nangu. We're just... Just what? I cut her off. Just childhood friends? Just deep sibling affection? Or just accidentally ended up in bed together and now have a child? My voice wasn't loud, but every word cut deep. Luna's face turned pale, as if she'd been slapped hard across the face. She probably never dreamed I'd know her secret. You're lying. Her voice trembled, her eyes darting around. I'm lying? I sneered. Do you want me to pull up the records of you and Jason staying in a hotel room together? Or should I bring out the receipts from your prenatal checkups and compare them? These pieces of evidence were the first things I had someone look into after I was reborn. I've been preparing for this day for a long time. Luna was completely panicked. She instinctively took a step back, trying to escape. There was no way I was going to let her get away. Luna, I stepped forward, closing in on her. The child in your belly is Jason's, isn't it? You're lying. It's my boyfriend's. She screamed in denial, but her voice lacked conviction. Your boyfriend? I laughed. Well, that's perfect. I have a paternity test application here. Sign it, and we'll go to the hospital for the test. I pulled out a document I had prepared earlier from behind me. Luna looked at the document as if she had seen a monster, her face turning pale. You're slandering me. She pointed at me, stammering for a while but unable to say much. What? Afraid to sign? I pressed her further. Are you afraid the results will come out and you won't be able to explain to your boyfriend? Neighbors had already been drawn by the commotion and were peeking over to see what was happening. Luna was both ashamed and afraid, and tears welled up in her eyes. Sister-in-law, I was wrong. Please forgive me, she began to beg. I was with Nangu in a moment of weakness. I didn't mean to. A moment of confusion? I sneered. Luna, ask your conscience, how long have you been with Jason? Since before I got pregnant, right? You two plotted against me all along, and now you're telling me it was a moment of confusion? I raised my voice to ensure the neighbors could hear clearly. You want to frame your illegitimate child on me and make me raise your child? What a vicious thought! Luna was berated so harshly that she burst into tears, crying even louder. The surrounding whispers grew louder. How shameless! Sleeping with someone else's husband. And wanting the wife to raise the mistress's child? How evil! She looked so innocent, but she's actually this kind of person. Luna completely broke down, covering her face and sobbing uncontrollably on the ground. Just then, a familiar black car pulled up downstairs. Jason was back. Jason saw the scene before him and his expression darkened instantly. He hurried over and pulled Luna up from the ground. Claire, what are you doing? Xiaoxi's belly is so big, what if something happens? He demanded harshly. Every word he spoke was defending Luna, completely ignoring me, who was also pregnant and nearly full term. I felt a chill run down my spine. Jason, you should ask your good sister what she did. Xiaoxi was just worried about you and came to check on you. Is this how you treat her? Worried about me? It sounds like the biggest joke I've ever heard. She was worried that I was blocking your path to getting birth registration for her child, wasn't she? Jason's expression changed. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm making things up. I raised the documents in my hand. Do you dare let Luna sign this paternity test application to prove her innocence? Jason looked at the documents, his eyes darting around. Luna hid behind Jason, too afraid to look at me. Enough! Jason suddenly shouted. Qingguo, stop causing trouble. Xiaoxi is pregnant. I'll take her home first. Saying that, he tried to pull Luna away. Stop! I shouted harshly. Jason, we're getting a divorce. My words hit him like a bomb, stopping him in his tracks. He spun around, staring at me in disbelief. Qingguo, have you lost your mind? I want a divorce. I said each word clearly. I find you disgusting. The neighbors around us were in an uproar. Jason's face turned ashen, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He probably never imagined that I, who had always obeyed him without question, would ever ask for a divorce. Qingguo, you're pregnant. The child in your womb is also the heir of the Ji family. Don't you dare regret this. He gritted his teeth. Regret? I laughed, tears streaming down my face. The thing I regret most is marrying you. You. Jason raised his hand, as if to strike me. I stood up straight, meeting his gaze without flinching. His hand paused midair before finally lowering. He must have been mindful of the neighbors and the child in my womb. Fine, very fine. Jason trembled with rage. Qingguo, we'll see about this. Let's see if you can bear to let your child grow up without a father, an illegitimate child. He glared at me viciously, dragged the dazed Luna, and got into the car in a hurry. Watching their receding figures, I felt all my strength drain out of me, and I leaned against the doorframe to steady myself. I knew there was a tough battle ahead. After Jason and Luna left, I immediately called my mother. My mother is a retired obstetrician and gynecologist with extensive connections and experience. In my previous life, I was too naive and didn't tell her anything, which led to such a tragic outcome. This time, I won't face it alone. Mom, Jason cheated on me, and the other woman is Luna. She's about to give birth. I got straight to the point. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Claire, don't be afraid. I'm here for you. My mother's voice was steady and reassuring. How are you? Is the baby okay? I'm fine, and the baby is doing well. I took a deep breath. Mom, I plan to divorce him. Divorce him? A man like that isn't worth it. My mother's tone was firm. The house was bought for you by your mother. It's premarital property. He won't get a single cent. We'll raise the child ourselves. Okay. Hearing my mother's support, I felt much more at ease. You're about to give birth. Focus on taking care of yourself and the baby. Don't worry about anything else. Leave the rest to me. After hanging up, I felt much more at peace. With my mother as my backing, I felt more confident to face the storms ahead. Sure enough, a few days later, Martha came knocking on my door. She was no longer the kind-hearted Martha I once knew. Her face was filled with harshness and anger. Qingguo, you've become quite the woman. How dare you cause such a scene? You've brought shame to the Ji family. She pointed at me as soon as she entered the door. You're the one who's disgraced the family by cheating on your husband and keeping a mistress, and now you want me to raise her child? I countered calmly. You. Martha was speechless for a moment, her face turning pale with anger. Nan was just momentarily confused. Every man makes mistakes. Can't you be more forgiving? Forgiving? I laughed. Mom, if Dad had slept with several of Jason's brothers, would you be forgiving? Martha was speechless, her face alternating between red and white. Besides, I continued, are you sure Jason was just momentarily confused? Luna's belly is bigger than mine, and he's been confused for a long time. Stop making excuses. Martha was furious. I'm telling you, Qingguo, the Ji family will never agree to a divorce. Don't even think about it. Whether we divorce or not isn't up to you or Jason. I spoke calmly. I've already hired a lawyer. The court will decide. You dare? Martha screamed. If you dare to divorce me, I'll leave you with nothing. And don't even think about taking the child. Mom, did you forget that this house is in my mother's name? As for the child, I stroked my belly, my eyes determined. He's mine, and no one can take him away from me. Martha looked at me, her words falling on deaf ears, and trembled with anger. Fine. Fine. Qingguo, you just wait. She slammed the door shut, leaving. I knew she would go find Jason to discuss a plan. But I was prepared. My due date was approaching, so I checked into the private hospital my mother had arranged. This hospital has strict security, excellent service, and most importantly, All the doctors and nurses are my mother's old colleagues or students, absolutely reliable. Jason and Martha refused to give up, but I turned them away every time they tried to come to the hospital. Unable to contact me, they could only fume in frustration. That day, my mother came to visit me and brought some news. Luna had given birth prematurely, twins. Oh. I wasn't surprised. Twins already have a higher risk of premature birth, and she was also traumatized from her outburst at my house last time. Jason and his mother have been scrambling to find connections to register the children under Jason's surname. My mother continued, but I've already made arrangements. They won't get away with it that easily. Mom, thank you, I said sincerely. Silly child, don't be so formal with your mother. My mother held my hand. Don't worry, I won't let you suffer any injustice. A few days later, I gave birth to a daughter smoothly. Looking at the tiny, wrinkled infant in my arms, my heart melted. This is my daughter, my precious treasure I had lost and found again. I named her Anan, hoping she would live a life of peace and joy. During the postpartum period, my mother took care of me with utmost care. Anan was also very well behaved, eating and sleeping peacefully, rarely crying or fussing. I was immersed in the joy of being a new mother, temporarily forgetting all the troubles of the past. However, Jason and Martha weren't going to give up so easily. Since they couldn't get close to me, they set their sights on my parents. Martha went to my parents' house multiple times, causing a scene, screaming and crying, accusing me of being unfilial for not letting her see her granddaughter. Jason pretended to be remorseful, calling my father and saying he knew he was wrong, begging for forgiveness and another chance. My parents were firm and refused to let them in. Claire, don't be soft-hearted. My mother warned me over the phone that men like him only cheat once or never at all. Mom, I know. How could I be soft-hearted? The pain from my past life haunts me every day and night. After giving birth, I began to handle the divorce proceedings. The lawyer told me that since Jason had cheated during the marriage and had an illegitimate child, I had sufficient evidence to prove he was at fault, and the divorce lawsuit was in my favor. Regarding property division, the house was my pre-marriage property and had nothing to do with Jason. The post-marriage property mainly consisted of Jason's wages and some savings, and I could request a larger share. As for custody of the children, there was little doubt. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction. But just before the court hearing, Luna showed up at my parents' house. Luna was holding her twins and came to my parents' home. She knelt at the door, crying bitterly, claiming that she had been deceived by Jason and begging my parents to take her and the children in. Uncle and aunt, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have destroyed Claire's family. She sobbed. Jason said you ruined his life, shamed him in front of neighbors and colleagues, and refused to acknowledge us as mother and children. Please have mercy and give me and the children a chance to live. My parents are soft-hearted people. Though they despise Luna, seeing the two helpless infants, they couldn't help but feel pity. Get up first. Let's talk this out calmly, my father said, frowning. I won't get up. Luna cried even louder. If Uncle and Auntie don't agree, I'll kneel here until I die. Her tantrum was just like Martha's. Neighbors came out to gawk, pointing and whispering at Luna. My parents were headached by her outburst and worried about the neighbors' opinions, so they reluctantly let her inside. I heard the news and rushed back immediately. As soon as I entered the house, I saw Luna sitting on the sofa, hugging the child and wiping away tears, while my mother sighed beside her. Luna, what trick are you trying to pull now? I glared at her coldly. Claire, Luna stood up immediately upon seeing me, her face adorned with a flattering smile. I really have no way out. Isn't he your Nangu? Didn't he abandon his wife and child for you? I interrupted her without mercy. Luna's face turned pale, and tears streamed down her cheeks. This has gone viral online, and even Nanji's grandfather found out about the child. They all think I'm a disgrace and kicked us out, not even giving us any living expenses. As she spoke, she kept glancing at my reaction. I sneered inwardly. Jason, that selfish man, would never truly give up everything for Luna. Back then, he deceived Luna because he knew she was pregnant with twins, wanting to use her to have a son. Now that his plan has been exposed, Luna has become a hot potato, and he naturally wants nothing to do with her. So you come to my house to play the victim? Do you really think we'll pity you? Taking your children? Claire, for the sake of the children. Jason is your husband, and these are the G family's flesh and blood. Luna tried to play the emotional card. Children? I looked at the 2 infants in her arms. Luna, have you lost your mind? Don't you know I'm divorcing him? If it weren't for you and Jason, my daughter wouldn't have been born without a father's love. What my daughter doesn't have, your children have no right to have. Luna was intimidated by my fierce demeanor and stepped back, clutching the children. Mom, Dad, I turned to my parents, let her leave. We don't welcome such people in our home. My mother nodded and stood up. Ms. Hahn, please leave. My father also looked stern. We can't help you. Luna saw my parents' firm attitude and realized that playing the victim wouldn't work. The pitiful expression on her face vanished instantly, replaced by a trace of venom. Chingua, don't get too cocky. She gritted her teeth. Even if I'm suffering, you won't get off easy. Jason won't let you off the hook. Is that so? I shrugged indifferently. Then we'll see you in court. The day of the trial came quickly. Jason and Martha both appeared in court. Jason looked haggard, with red veins in his eyes, probably from being driven to the brink by Luna and her 2 children. Martha glared at me with hatred, as if I were a heinous criminal. In court, my lawyer presented all the evidence of Jason's infidelity during the marriage and his illegitimate child with Luna. The evidence was irrefutable, leaving Jason with no room to deny it. He tried to defend himself, claiming he had been momentarily blinded by Luna's seduction and was willing to leave with nothing, begging me not to divorce him and give him a chance to reform. His performance was tearful and emotional, but I wasn't buying it. Your Honor, I disagree. I spoke firmly. Jason's infidelity and the birth of a child with another woman have severely hurt my feelings and destroyed my family. I insist on a divorce. Martha, who was sitting in the gallery, heard my words and stood up angrily, pointing at me and shouting, Chingua. You heartless woman. Nan has already admitted his mistake, and you still want more. What man doesn't make mistakes? How can you not forgive a man who made a mistake? The judge banged the gavel. Silence. All spectators, please remain quiet, or leave the courtroom. Martha reluctantly sat back down. Jason, seeing that pleading was futile, began to fight for property division and custody. He demanded a division of marital property and joint custody of our daughter, Ainan. The house is premarital property and has nothing to do with you. My lawyer rebutted logically. As for the marital property, considering that the defendant is at fault, we demand a larger share. Regarding custody, the child is still in the breastfeeding period, and according to the law, custody should be granted to the mother. The defendant has engaged in extramarital affairs during the marriage, which is detrimental to the child's upbringing. We firmly demand sole custody of the child. Jason's lawyer attempted to counter, but could not present compelling evidence. Ultimately, the judge ruled in court, the divorce is granted. The house is mine. I receive 70% of the marital property. Custody of our daughter Ainan is granted to me, and Jason must pay child support monthly and has visitation rights. Upon hearing the verdict, Jason turned pale and collapsed into his chair. Martha rushed over like a madwoman, trying to hit me. You bitch. You brought misfortune upon our family. You ruined our family's reputation. The court officers intervened promptly. I looked at them coldly, without a flicker of emotion. After the divorce, I started a new life with Ainan. I worked during the day and took care of the child at night, a life that was hard but fulfilling. Jason occasionally came to visit Ainan, each time trying to get close to me and saying regretful words. He even knelt before me, sobbing and saying he had been deceived, that the DNA test proved Luna's twins were not his children, but the result of her casual encounter. He said he only had Anan as his daughter now and would give her everything in the future. I ignored him completely. For such a man, I couldn't even bear to look at him. Martha stayed quiet for a while, probably because she was devastated by the court ruling. But the peaceful days didn't last long. Luna showed up again. This time, she wasn't here to play the victim, she was here to show off. She was dressed up in her best clothes, driving a brand new sports car, parked outside my house. "Claire, it's been a while," she said, taking off her sunglasses with a smug smile. I furrowed my brows. "What are you here for?" "Nothing, just passing by to see how you're doing." She looked me up and down. "Oh, still working? That must be tough." "I'm doing just fine, no need for you to worry." I didn't want to waste my breath on her. "Really?" Luna laughed. "I recently met a boss. Want me to introduce you to him sometime? His company is looking for a cleaning lady." She deliberately flaunted the diamond watch on her wrist. "Oh." I remained expressionless. "Claire, do you think Jason is blind? He actually chose you, a plain woman, over me, who is so beautiful." She leaned closer to me and whispered, her tone filled with provocation. Looking at her heavily made-up face, I suddenly found it amusing. "Luna, did you forget who was begging at my door like a stray dog, crying for shelter?" Luna's face turned pale. "You found a new sugar daddy and forgot how desperate you were back then?" I continued to mock her. "But you better hold on tight to this sugar daddy. Don't end up like last time, getting dumped when he gets tired of you." "You're talking nonsense." Luna was furious. "Old Wong from our family said he wants to marry me. I'll be Mrs. Wang soon." "Is that so?" I raised an eyebrow. "Does he know you've given birth to 2 children for someone else?" Luna's face paled even more. "Does he know or not?" "I'm just reminding you," I said indifferently. "Things obtained through men can never last." After saying that, I ignored her and walked into the building. Behind me, I heard Luna's furious curses. I didn't look back. Such a clown isn't worth my time. I thought Luna would calm down after I confronted her, but she only got worse. She started spreading rumors online, saying I had an affair while married, abused Martha, and that Anan wasn't Jason's child. Her fabricated stories were detailed and convincing, and she even hired online trolls to amplify the narrative. Soon, the internet was flooded with criticism directed at me. Some people who didn't know the truth even showed up at my company's building with banners demanding I leave. My boss called me in for a talk. Though he didn't say it outright, his meaning was clear. He wanted me to resolve this matter quickly to avoid affecting the company. I remained calm. Since Luna had acted so dishonorably, she couldn't blame me for doing the same. I immediately had someone investigate the new boss Luna was involved with. The boss's surname was Wine, the CEO of a listed company, over 30 years older than Luna, with the youngest son being 10 years older than her. Luna was just one of his many mistresses. I anonymously sent Luna's story to Wang's wife. Wang's wife was a formidable woman with a powerful family background. She immediately brought people to Luna's apartment. Apparently, the scene was quite intense. Luna was beaten until her face was swollen and bruised, her body covered in injuries, and she was even photographed naked. To appease his wife's anger, Wang not only cut off all ties with Luna but also took back the car and apartment he had bought for her. Overnight, Luna was reduced to nothing. She not only lost her support, but also faced a lawsuit from me for defaming me online, resulting in a substantial compensation payment for emotional distress. Now, she is truly at the end of her rope. Her 2 children, without household registration, cannot attend school and must be sent back to their hometown to be raised by her parents. As for her, her reputation was so tarnished that she couldn't find a decent job and had to survive in seedy establishments, a fitting punishment for her actions. 12. With Luna out of the picture, only Jason and Martha remained. After the divorce, Jason's life also took a turn for the worse. His affair and the scandals surrounding it ruined his reputation at the hospital. Colleagues openly and secretly shunned him, and his superiors no longer trusted him. Once a rising star in the surgical department, he now had to settle for menial tasks. On top of that, he had to pay child support for Anan every month and deal with Luna's occasional harassment, leaving him under immense financial and emotional pressure. He repeatedly asked me to remarry him, but I firmly refused each time. Meanwhile, Martha has calmed down somewhat since her outburst in court. However, her hatred toward me remains unchanged. She blames all her misfortunes on me, believing that my presence ruined her son's future. One day, my mother suddenly called me, sounding urgent. "Claire, come home immediately. Martha is at our house with a group of people causing trouble." I was startled and immediately took leave to rush home. When I arrived, the house was in complete disarray. Martha, accompanied by several men with menacing expressions, had smashed everything in my home to pieces. My mother was protecting Anan, hiding in a corner, her face pale with fear. They had squatted in my home, living in the house my mother had left me, seemingly content. I had anticipated this and dodged to the side. The men surrounded me. "What do you think you're doing?" I shouted angrily. "Breaking into someone's home, destroying property, and now you want to hit people? I've already called the police." Hearing the police, the men hesitated. But Martha didn't care. "Hit her. Hit her. Beat this slut to death." Just then, the sound of police sirens could be heard outside. The police arrived promptly and brought the situation under control. Martha and the men were taken to the police station. Due to the severity of the incident, Martha was detained for 15 days. After her release, her health deteriorated drastically, and she became bedridden, spending most of her time in the hospital. The incident caused a huge stir in the city. Jason could no longer stay at the hospital, resigned in disgrace, and left the city where I lived forever. The one who killed me and my daughter in my previous life has finally received the punishment she deserved. Looking at the sleeping Anan in my arms, I couldn't help but smile. In this life, I protected my daughter, protected my home, and protected my own life. Anan is still young, and the road ahead is long and full of possibilities.